Hey everyone, welcome to Spirits and Cousins. This is Courtney. I'm coming at you from Monterey today with a very special guest. Her name is Sarah. Welcome,
Hi.
Sarah. I have known Sarah for what feels like forever. Sarah is
Yes.
one of my Minnesota people. She lives
Yep,
in rural Minnesota and has a lot of experiences and abilities.
I do. They came naturally. Pretty sure it's a family inheritance. I've been doing the work and whatnot since 2006, but I was having experiences way before that. My great grandmother would actually get canker sores when a person was going to pass away. My grandmother and my mother both saw my great grandfather walk down the halls of their workplace. I also saw him, and now my kids can see. So it's definitely a generational thing. It just wasn't quite tapped into it with the tools until 2006. So um, I clairsentient for sure. I can smell things, I can see things. The biggest one is like with healing touch is something I knew was hurting. I could feel it, but it's just on the opposite side. I mirror that person. But yeah, been a
You
lot.
also
And we
do
when we work,
cards.
yeah, I do cards. I have a library. I've given classes. We've done expos together, which
Yeah,
were absolutely fun. In fact, that's where we met. Was at that first expo in St. Paul Park.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, that was forever ago. God, we're old. What the hell?
We became very fast friends at that expo
Yes, we did. Thank God.
and have been ever since. Sarah also used to make just beautiful jewelry and wands.
Yep, the wands I still do just because working woodworking is one of my passions. I love it. So I source my own still have to make your wand. That's so funny. Um, walking sticks out of red willow, birch, pine. I have 11 acres, so I can harvest my own. And I do it correctly to the north with the tobacco as the Native Americans would do. So
Excellent.
I always got to give back if you're going to take from Mother Nature.
I love that. That's one of the things that I really loved and admired about you too. And I've learned a lot from you about making sure to give offerings when,
Yes,
especially when you are asking to remove something from the earth.
correct. Yep, because otherwise the earth would not give back. And I think that's why the earth is fighting back right now because it's not getting its due justice.
So, do you remember what your very first experience was with paranormal or with your abilities?
Um, one of the most notable ones that was pretty exciting. So I used to work for the Hinkley Chamber. Um, Uptown, there's a little video store, and I had my office in the back, and all the time you'd hear footsteps running across the roof or down the hallway. So little known facts about Hinkley, we have a thing called the Great Hinkley Fire of 1894. During that time, it was 2 days of a wind tornado, and over 600 people died. But we think there's more because the Native Americans were not considered human. So there's a lot of Native Americans in the area that would have passed away that are not accounted for. So the people we're hearing are from the Hinkley Fire. It was a woman and two children. I can actually, I actually got their names because I could hear them. Um, she was named Helen. She was not the kids' mother. She actually saved them, but they all burned together.
Wow.
Is the story I got from her. So my friend Keith, who is also into this kind of thing and paranormal, and right now he's a nomad traveling the earth and healing the lines, and that's his thing. Is great. So me and Keith went to the business before they opened. Kevin opened up for us about 5:30, 6 o'clock. So all the doors are locked. Keith and I start downstairs, and we found a vortex. So we closed the vortex. We started our way upstairs, got all the way up to the next level, and we're clearing that space. We're pushing through with energy, white lights, sage. We put crystals in the corners of the building just to help reinforce what we're trying to do. And then all of a sudden, the doorbell rang on the way out. So the lady and the 2 kids left.
Wow.
But they rang the doorbell. It was pretty intense. But wait, about 5 months later, Kevin, the guy who owns the business, didn't realize that he he was kind of with the gift also. So he does dreams. That's what he was doing. He was dreaming, and he let them back in, and they're still there.
To this day, they're still there because he let
They're
them back
still
in.
there. He let them back in, and now they don't want to leave. I've asked multiple times. So,
How do they show themselves?
to me, it's in my mind where I just get a picture. That's mostly what I get. It'd be like the gentleman at work. So I don't know what it is with haunted workplaces and me. This is ridiculous. I just realized I put it together that I work everywhere it's haunted. And wonder why I'm not freaked out anymore. So where I work now is a plastic factory, and there's a tool room area in the main building. There's a maintenance guy who used to work there who hasn't left because he's always I want to get that out the corner of your eye, the little black thing that goes by. At least for me, that's the way it is.
Yes.
Always there. He's always there, and he doesn't like anybody being in his spot because it's not done right. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Then also the hotel here in town. I work there, and room 52 likes to call you. There's no one in the room, but it'll call you multiple times. I've gone up there, I switched out the telephone 3 times, and it still calls. So back in the day, I think it was the 70s, I believe there was a murder there, and I think that's the woman who's still there. She won't give me all the information, but that's pretty what I gathered.
So the people who stayed in that room, would they also come to the desk and talk with you about their
Oh yeah.
experiences?
I've had a couple people mention something. It's mostly just the noise. Nothing harmful. They just let themselves be known. There's also a vortex in that hotel I've tried to close. Hi, kitty. Yeah, the vortex there is very, very menacing. I actually for a while felt pretty drained because it's almost like I wanted to attach. So I got permission from the boss to clear it and close it down. And then all of a sudden you can walk down the basement again.
Huh. Will you explain to people what a vortex is?
Vortex would be like, when you pull a sink drain and it swirls and it goes down. Well, that's would be a whole bunch of energy where spirits will come and go like a portal. So the vortex will sit there and spin, and you can actually feel them. Think of Arizona when you go and see the vortexes down there. I forget the town name off the top of my head.
Sedona.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That would be the psychic Disney World, is what we call it. Because people flock to those vortexes. And people actually might feel nauseous, might feel sick, might feel energized because it is a big ball of energy, and spirits are drawn to that. And that's how they travel. It'd be like with the same way they travel down railroad tracks or they travel along water. That is another way for them to get around.
When I was in Mount Shasta 2 years ago, I learned that Mount Shasta, Sedona, and the Bermuda Triangle are all a triangle.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. The beings inside of Shasta, I've actually experienced with my friend Keith because he lived there as well. So he tapped into the energies and he gave me a healing session with the people inside of Mount Shasta.
Yeah, it's amazing energy there.
Oh gosh, the bathing in the light. Oh my God, it was amazing.
So you and I have been to several different places, not always at the same time, but one
Correct.
of the places in particular you and I've spent a lot of time in is
The Concord.
Drum roll. Ding, ding, ding. Stockyard Exchange Building, the Concord.
Yes, the Concord. That lady upstairs, she is just a school mom from hell, I swear. Oh my God, she was a bitch. Never met the lady in my life, but God, it was awful. She just stood there in her high horse and just stared at everybody. It was so weird.
Yeah, her arms are crossed. Just
Cross,
looks
yes.
like a very old,
Think
an older woman
think of
from
Mrs.
what, the 1800s.
Mrs. Nelson. Mrs. Nelson from what Little House on the
Little House
Prairie.
on the Prairie.
That's what she looked like. Just puckered her lips and everything. And the severe hair bun. Her eyes were pulled back so tight.
Oh, she was so protective of that place.
Oh, totally. Which is why she needed to be there.
Oh, she absolutely needed to be there. And she needed to be stern like that with all the unreal
all the
things
other
that
entities
happened there.
Yes, that place is so magical. And Erica only brings it all together every year. I'm sorry I missed it the last couple times, but maybe someday.
Yeah. So there's a woman back in Minnesota who does a spiritual expo at the Concord building, and that's one of the places that Sarah and I would hang out together and do some fun work together.
Yep, definitely. Our tables were right next to each other, and it was never a dull moment.
Never. And we'd go exploring. That was so much fun.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
What are some other paranormal experiences you've had?
The most recent one was pretty emotional for me. I went to Maria Shaw's expo with my mother-in-law last summer, and they did a group panel where all the psychics stood up front and they would just call out things. With one of the ladies, she's looking down the aisle and she goes, "Who has a German Shepherd with a blue collar with an air name?" She keeps on saying air, and nobody's raising their hand. I think about it. Well, we had a dog named Bear who passed away in October 2 years ago. Turns out it was my dog. He came to the expo and found me. So I'm like, okay, this lady's really good. So I decided to give myself a reading. Why not? She brought through my grandfather, my grandmother, and my other grandfather. I sat there and cried for 20 minutes. And just to have that experience, and she even brought out a phrase my grandpa would always say that he was teaching me, and I didn't know what "Lashes los" meant until my kids started taking German classes. It means "what is this?" So it all came together, and it was just amazing. Wow. Just knowing my dog was there. But then I was sitting there, and my mother-in-law was also there. The Bear sat right next to me the entire time. I could feel him brushing against my leg. So it was very, very cool.
It sounds so moving.
It was so much. Oh gosh. And then it made myself feel better with a little shopping therapy, and came home with two skulls because I need more skulls. I got 2 petrified wood skulls. They're full-size human heads. Gorgeous, just gorgeous. I bought one day, went back the next day, and I looked at the poor thing sitting all by itself. I'm like, fuck it, taking it home.
They're a bonded pair.
Yes, they are. They're yin and yang for sure. Yeah. So other than that, experiences are pretty intense. I actually had to set up boundaries in my home. When we first moved in here, spirits were coming left and right all the time. I was exhausted. I mean, I'm really into this. This is one of these big things that it really got really hot and heavy, because that was when, at one point, when I called crying because the dimensional shift, and you helped me work through going from 3D into 5D.
Yep.
It was so crazy. That was about the same time. I had to set up boundaries that the only ghosts that could come in the house or any spirits was if they wanted to be crossed over. Because that's one of my big things that I've done is I cross over ghosts that want to. And been pretty successful at it. So I had to set up boundaries. I salt around my house regularly. I sage. I have patchy tear, and I have quartz crystals in every single corner of my house. Even my kids have crystal grids underneath their bed. And they're 20, 18, and 16. So they still have crystal grids under their beds. And they're okay with it. So yeah, the kids have their crystal grids under the bed. I started with Healing Touch. Healing Touch was an amazing thing for me. My husband had just recently hit his head um, from a work injury. And so we're dealing with his therapy, his trauma, and his care. I was just exhausted. So my mother in law suggested going to Healing Touch classes with her. And that just started the whole ball rolling. Healing Touch, just amazing. I met a lot of amazing people through those classes. And it's at a convent. So you get to work with the nuns. And that was the most gorgeous graveyard I've ever walked through. It like
Yeah.
sparkled in the sun. It's lovely. If you ever have a chance, outside of St. Cloud, there is a convent there at St. Joseph's, and it is amazing. And that's where the Healing Touch classes are still held to this day. Yeah, I met some pretty amazing people. One of the first people I worked on, she was 78 years old. She lived in a little assisted living place. She was diagnosed with Lyme's disease too late. They didn't know what it was because back in the 70s, it wasn't a thing. So for almost 10 years, this poor woman couldn't go outside because her medication would interfere with the sunshine. So I started working on her. The first time I worked on her, she was having stomach issues. And I told her, you probably want to go get that checked out because she threw up while I was working on her. She had to run, I had to get her to the restroom. She came back, she laid down, I worked on her again. I'm like, no, I think you really need to go to the doctor. She goes, I'll tell my aide tomorrow. I'm like, okay, you do that. Well, they go to the doctor 3 days later, find out that she had a stomach ulcer. So when I go over somebody's body, when I'm working on them, I can actually feel that mass coming up like another vortex. So it's all
Okay.
connected. So spirit leads me to exactly what Samit found. So I was very glad to meet her and help her out. Sadly, she's since passed from other issues, but yeah, it's Healing Touch is an amazing thing. It brought me to you.
So true.
Yeah. So if anybody really wants to start easy, Healing Touch is a great way to do it, and it's credited. So once you
I
start
agree.
using it, it's a great outlet. Nurses and doctors are actually using it. I actually helped my mother-in-law's mother cross over. There's a different type of handwork that you do that you open up their chakras, and it just helps them slowly let go. And I was able to do that 2 days in a row in hospice to help her out.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And you can actually feel the body go up, the spirit leaving. You can feel it all. It's a beautiful thing. Very, very beautiful. That was the
It,
second person I've helped. So,
it is such an honor to be able to witness and be part
oh,
and present
it
when
is
souls pass through.
exactly. 'Cause otherwise, they're still humanizing it to some point where they don't want anybody to see them go, to try to save them the hurt. But the smart ones know that they need to be there with their loved ones when they go.
Mhm. So you have lots of different skills and abilities. What are your which ones do you enjoy doing the most or engaging with the most? Do you have favorites?
Um, Healing Touch for sure. That's up there with the human connection. But ghost hunting for me is a lot of fun. Um, there's an app on the phone. It's kind of like an EMF reader. It's a ghost finder. It looks like a little radar and it circles and blips when it finds a ghost. Well, it
Mhm.
also has audio. Um, I actually had a ghost talk to me through it. I was surprised sitting in my living room at night watching a ghost story because they were in a sanitarium and they were ghost hunting and there's like pictures of blood being washed in the sink. Well, all of a sudden the word blood comes across to my app. And then it says Richard. One of the hunters on TV was named Richard. So I've had connections where a ghost was watching TV with me. So that was pretty interesting. That lasted for a good 10 minutes. But my
Okay.
phone was very dead by the time it was done. It really sucked up that juice.
Oh, that happens so much.
Oh gosh.
Do you have other tools you like to use when you talk with spirits? Or is a lot of it your
Um
own clairs?
it's changed. When I first started, pendulums were the way to go for me because the yes and the no, I need that visual cue. Well, then it changed where now the inside of my forehead is my pendulum. If spirit wants me yes or no, I could feel it feels like somebody has a finger on the inside of my forehead and they push out and that's a yes. And then I could feel like somebody has rubber band pulling back and that's a no. So I really haven't used a pendulum. That's about 5 years
Okay.
because now I am the pendulum. And we found that out a lot with people is that their tool of choice will change because
Does.
as they elevate and they grow, they realize they have to trust themselves, not the tool. You are the tool.
Yeah, and
So,
I like using tools because it can provide that evidence. So I like that piece of
correct.
it. I try and do a mix of both just because I can turn off my abilities, but I also wanna really use them too. So I try and do a good
Correct.
mix of
Correct.
them where it's like, okay, I can debunk what I'm getting. It also validates hopefully the information I'm receiving too.
Correct, correct. Same thing is that that's why I do have some video evidence. And I guess I can share it with you guys. You can put it in the links and whatnot because I have some pretty cool um sorry. Just I think I just saw a cat butt walk by. Um so it has pretty cool videos. I connect really heavily with the earth, even though I'm a water sign. I hate water. You get in your water and I'm out. I don't want it. But the earth is definitely my option of choice for grounding and everything else. And that's where I actually took the fairy classes. The woman who changed, she went to Christian now. There's the D.
During
I don't know, she
virtue.
lives in Hawaii. Thank you. So I took her fairy class and I learned a hell of a lot about that. And then all of a sudden I got a whole bunch of fairies in my house. So I actually have a little fairy who follows me around named Flora Fae. She's also been a big help with learning about the elements and the salamanders and the fairies. And I do have a brownie in my house because everybody needs a brownie.
Of course.
They are they are protectors of the home. The best thing you do is set out some milk for them to honor them. Okay. Yeah, they give offerings and they will stay and they'll help out. And they're pretty damn good. Gnomes, though, they're tricky little shits.
They
They'll
are
take your
tricky. You gotta
stuff.
be careful.
Yes, and that's the other attachments with those things are awful. And I think they're the reason, when you're looking in the refrigerator for something and you can't see it, and you ask somebody where it is, and you turn back and it's there. I think there's a gnome in the refrigerator, and it just moved things to another dimension, so you couldn't see it for that 3 seconds. I know they are. They're so awful. So yeah, I actually have a fairy tree that I found wandering around my backyard when we first moved in. Found out it's on the neighbor's property, but it's damn close to mine. So I put my offerings around that tree. And that's also where I charge my tools because my tools are made from earth. They're stones, they're wood, they're feathers, that kind of thing. So they have to recharge. The full moon is great for that. Full moon charged water is great for that. Sunshine is great. Otherwise, putting your stones right on the ground, give them a chance to suck up Mother Earth.
For
And we
sure.
need to do the same thing. We have to get outside and connect to Mother Earth and put our roots in. Otherwise, if you don't do self care like that, I've had 2 attachments since I was ever been ghost hunting. Is the attachments are the scary thing. Did a session on my friend Keith, who actually works with the space beings and all that jive. And he actually had an implant, an energetic implant in his shoulder that we had to take out. So the moment we got it out of him and I put it back into the earth to get rid of it, he actually felt better.
Okay.
He was getting sluggish. He was feeling icky, tired and fatigued. But once it was gone, it was like a brand new man. So attachments, no matter how they come, are scary, scary things. So always white light of the Holy Spirit or wherever you believe in. Surround your
Mhm.
stuff with that stuff because you just have to. It's like dealing with an energetic vampire. Same thing. People who just suck you dry. Oh yeah, cover up.
Yeah, you gotta be
Just
careful of those for sure.
oh yeah. One of the best ways I learned to take care of an energetic vampire. Imagine putting this silver rod to the top of their head and it goes all the way out their ass to the floor. So you get to impale them energetically. And it's like it makes you feel really good on the inside. But once you do that, it grounds them for you. It's your way of grounding. so that they can't take from you anymore.
Yep.
And it does work, because most of the things you deal with is mind over matter. Definitely. So that's one of the things I learned from Healing Touch, and it does help. And I've had to teach my kids the same things, because, kids in school are not always nice.
No, they are not. Sarah, thank you so much for your time. I love hanging out with you. Please join us for part 2, where Sarah Fae and I talk about our most haunted investigations, her beautiful wands that she makes, crows, and some fun word associations. Sarah is an expert in so many different metaphysical things. You'll want to tune in and hear what else she has to say. Thank you all so much. Please remember to email us, spiritsandcousins@gmail.com, with your fun paranormal stories. We'd love to interview you and have you on. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook, Spirits and Cousins. Have a good one.